life, from protection to savings to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and wow, what a year it was at Koppel. The Koppel family would like to say thank you for a record-setting sales year in 2025. Now let's start 2026 off with a bang. New GMC Sierra pickups starting at $12,500 off list or 0% APR. Also hot off the presses, new Terrain leases at $299 per month. That's right, $299 per month on new GMC Terrain leases. So please stop on in the store or online at koppelcars.com. Stock numbers G138852 and G165184, $2,500 down with proof credit.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in December, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep the clubs out year-round. Book your holiday parties at Double Eagle Golf and make plans to join them for a New Year's Eve party. Gift cards make a great stocking stuffer for Christmas, and don't forget to look ahead to 2026 as spring leagues begin in February. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf. MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com. Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
I think it's just vapor.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as 1 pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Want to quit tobacco? You don't have to do it alone. The Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line can help you quit any type of tobacco. We offer professional coaches to help you create a personalized quit plan with an online community to support you along the way. Plus, we'll connect you to resources like medications to help you quit, so you have everything you need to become tobacco-free. Quit with confidence. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired in association with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in. Happy Sunday. Once again, Harrison Arens still on the ones and twos. We'll be on the ones and twos all the way, at the very least, until 1 p.m. If you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. You can also swing by the mill. We are currently open at 1040 O Street. I just got myself the very first poured cup of coffee of the day. and they have a great menu, especially when it's freezing out there. So definitely swing by if you haven't checked it out. We do have a cool studio. I will say the Mill has their great section, and also we have a lot of the jerseys from student athletes that used to do shows here, all hanging up on the wall, along with just a bunch of knickknacks. So I encourage everybody, if you haven't checked it out yet, Sunday's a great opportunity to do so. But they're only open till 1. So if you want to swing by before church, well, probably after church, not before church. But nonetheless, appreciate everybody listening. We got a good Sunday in front of us. I'll talk a little bit about Husker wrestling and their results over the weekend. They went up against Penn State and some of the highlights in that and some of the lowlights. And then, of course, Husker basketball. We got a doubleheader today. Men and women both play. The men tip off at 3 p.m. and the women will tip off, I believe, at 5 p.m. Yep. So men, obviously, a big one. It's at home, sold out. I expect a pretty raucous environment. It's the Vault's slowly becoming one of the best venues in the Big Ten. Just due to one of the better looking venues, one of the newer ones, on top of we just got a ravenous fan base. And now a ravenous fan base who hasn't seen anything close to this for Husker basketball. So 3 o'clock at the Vault, Nebraska Cornhuskers, the number 5 Nebraska Cornhuskers, will take on the Fighting Illini. If everyone remembers, earlier in the season, Nebraska got the win already on the road. It was a buzzer beater from Jamarcus Lawrence, and it was an 83-80 final, but a close one nonetheless. This one, the Huskers get to host. Currently, the spread is 2.5 in the Huskers' favor. Moneyline has them at 130. And again, they are sitting there at 20-1, 9-1 in the Big Ten. Of course, Nebraska's only loss being their last game, which was versus the, at the time, number 3 Michigan Wolverines. And, you're down 2 starters in that one. No Braden Frager, no Rink Mast, and you still give Michigan, who was considered one of the best teams in the country, a serious run for the money. And Nebraska led that thing all the way up for, other than a minute and some change, which unfortunately was the last minute of that basketball game. But for the most part, Nebraska was in control of it. We've talked about the officiating in that one before, and some things might have gone, a different way. Maybe we come out with that win. Certainly, if Frager's healthy, you feel great. If Rink Mast is healthy, you feel much better about the size that Michigan had. And then, of course, maybe some of the calls went our way. It's tough to ignore a 23-4 free throw discrepancy, which is what it was. And for the women, they got number 11 Ohio State Buckeyes at 5 o'clock. The women will be on the road. The Buckeyes are currently 19-3. They are 8-2 in the Big Ten. The Nebraska women are currently 16-5, 5-5 in the Big Ten. The women's team's been a little bit up and down. They were kind of on a solid streak. They hadn't really played anybody incredibly tough yet. And then as soon as they got to that first ranked opponent, really opening up Big Ten play, they get a loss versus USC, number 17 USC. They don't get blown out or anything, 74-66. Then they get a tough one on the road right after versus 14 Iowa. They take their second loss of the year and losing it 88-78. Kind of get back on track with 2 home wins versus Purdue, then Indiana, but they can't close out the home series. And they take a tough loss to number 4 UCLA. And it was actually pretty close, though. Or excuse me, it was not. It was 83-61. I'm remembering another game. I'm looking too far ahead here. But to be all fairness, UCLA, they're kind of a monster this year in women's basketball. We kind of caught them on a tough night. I think in the team stats, they're shooting unreal numbers. Yeah, they're shooting 48% from 3. And then all the while, or excuse me, not 48% from 3, 48% from the floor. And all the while holding Nebraska to a pretty cold 38% from the floor, which is pretty significant from their usual standards. And then moving on from that, you get another road game versus a ranked opponent, number 15 at Michigan State. They drop that one, and then they lose again on the road to Wisconsin. And then they got back versus Illinois and Northwestern, and now they're back on the road again versus a ranked opponent. They've done good. Their only losses are just coming from ranked opponents. Again, USC, Iowa, ranked. UCLA, Michigan State, ranked. And then the only one that wasn't was Wisconsin, which was their most recent loss of late, which is a couple games back where they lost at 63-60. So you're hoping for this one. They can hold on to their momentum a little bit, take it to the road, go beat Ohio State at 5 o'clock. And I do not believe, well, actually, I think I know they're not favored in this one whatsoever. Yeah, Ohio State, it's not significant though. No spreads or anything on it, obviously, but it is a 62.4% for Ohio State Buckeyes on ESPN's matchup predictor. how much attention you want to give that. So 2 really great opportunities. And for Nebraska basketball, you kind of got the monkey off your back with that first loss to Michigan. We'll see what the availability report looks like. I'd imagine, both guys got through their illnesses and then should be good to go, or at least rink masked. I know, Braden Frager with the ankle injury, they're kind of keeping him day to day. I do believe he should be ready to go, which would be a tremendous help. And that was the one thing that I felt like we really missed. Again, going to Michigan, we can talk about the free throw discrepancy. Part of it was a little bit on Nebraska not really attacking the rim very aggressively. The points in the paint will say they had 34, which they did, but it wasn't necessarily going to the rack and going into defenders' bodies. It was you saw it with Gail Jacobson, a little bit of Steve Nash dribble up inside and then just kind of fade away from the defenders as opposed to going into them, which is great when it's going in. But when the game starts slowing down and Michigan's chunking away there, we struggled to really get that contact. And then we went ice cold as a result. I think we missed the last 9 3-point attempts, which again, you like the 3-point shots they were taking. But when the offense starts stalling out like that, maybe you need to find something else. And that's where a guy like Braden Frager, I think was really missed. He might be one of our best drivers when it comes to attacking the rim. Certainly on the fast break, just due to a lot of his athletic ability. But you see it in half court as well. He's the guy that's going to pass up the open 3 to go at the rack. And against Michigan, we couldn't really pressure any of those guys to get in foul trouble. I thought they felt pretty comfortable around the rim the whole time, especially when Nebraska started missing shots. Michigan kind of settled in, and of course, they're top 10 when it comes to getting to the line and getting free throws. So I don't think we should have been too surprised that the discrepancy existed. We can talk about how large it was, but there were some things that were controllable for Nebraska that, I don't just want to pin it solely on the refs. But everything still, that's a great result. You going out there in a pretty tough environment. I know some people thought the crowd was a little bit light. I think Michigan fans just need to not wear so much blue when they blend into the seats that much. It almost makes kind of for a weird viewing on TV. But it was impressive. And now you get another one versus Illinois. Last time we played, it was kind of how Michigan beat us. It was a lot of the same thing. Nebraska was in control for a large majority of that Illinois game. And that second half rolls around late in the second half. It was about 9 minutes to go, and Illinois was in the bonus already. And then there was a discrepancy in free throws or just in fouls in general in this game as well. It was not nearly as severe, but Illinois really started getting back, not through great offense, but just through getting to the free throw line and attacking glass. So that's the only thing that might scare you is Michigan, Illinois, a little bit similar there on how their size could be a problem. And then, of course, they had Wagler, who went nuclear not too long ago, and he's kind of been picking it up. Just a really good 3-point shooter. He dropped 46 versus Michigan, and he was able to hand them a tough loss. So just another guy that you'll keep an eye out for. If they start lighting it up from 3, then you start worrying a little bit about how Nebraska going to attack that defensively. However, Nebraska's been pretty good defensively, even versus Michigan. I mean, again, I hate to keep using just the Michigan example, but I thought that was a really great test because you're down 2 guys short. Sam Hoiberg's dealing with a little bit, not a major injury, but it looks like some minor discomfort in the shoulder, especially after he took what should have been a charge. But you're kind of getting 2 teams that are very similar on how they're going to attack. But Nebraska's defense has shown that it can still be really pesky. Again, they got to the line, they got free throws. But if you really look at that Michigan game and then the Illinois game a while back as well, where the Fighting Illini climbs back, again, it wasn't really so much of their offense that was killing Nebraska. Nebraska's defense stayed really solid through a lot of it. It was just their ability to, for Illinois, get a lot of second chance points and just rebounding some long boarded threes. And then for Michigan's case, it was going downhill and just drawing the fouls and not relying so much on second chance points. Because I do think the Huskers have just gotten a lot better at identifying teams that are going to try to abuse them on the glass. Northwestern was a really good kind of example of that. But you feel good. I mean, there's not a lot about this Illinois team that scares me, other than obviously they're a very good team. Nebraska could take a loss here. But I think Nebraska's kind of proven itself to this point that them being favorited is something that I think we should feel pretty normal about. They've proven everyone wrong at about every turn here. Even that Michigan game, They went up in the net ranking after the loss. The national conversation around Husker men's basketball significantly changed, and all of a sudden people looked at them as legitimate contenders. And then I do believe they're, again, I'm not a betting guy, but I do use it to kind of size up what the nation thinks about certain programs. And even the betting odds went up for Nebraska to go ahead and win a national title after a loss. Uniquely enough, it would not be until Nebraska takes its first loss of the season when people start to take this team seriously. I get it. It's a result of how close it was with the factors that they had to face. But it does say a lot about how uniquely this team was looked at. And some of you can understand it because this team doesn't have really any history. But I'll tell you what, people are paying attention now. And this is a game. You got no NFL football on this weekend. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this Nebraska basketball game. It's in a good time slot at that 3:00. If we really want to crank up that recruiting, which Fred Hoiberg, seems like he's got some really good recruits that are going to be taking visits. I know they got a few versus Illinois that'll be here for it. A really good opportunity to kind of set this place to place. So shout out to everyone who is heading to the game. Fortunately, I am not. I wish I was still a student. Those tickets are getting really expensive, which is a great thing to have. But I expect that place to be an absolutely ruckus environment. I hope Nebraska basketball can get to that point to where people talk about that venue the same way they talk about Purdue. Because Purdue is pretty notorious. A lot of it, their success, they're winning. And then also they got that ceiling where it definitely just reverbs constantly in there, which makes it a loud environment. But the Vault, when that place is packed, we surprisingly saw it with volleyball this fall when they hosted a volleyball game there. That place can get really rolling when it's totally sold out and everyone's invested in witnessing a team that has a legitimate chance to go win a national title. The same thing's true for men's basketball now. So I expect it to be incredibly loud in there. I'm excited to watch it on TV. And at least for this one, it's not on Peacock. So if you don't have Peacock, don't worry about it. It is on Fox Sports. You can watch it there. You don't have to go pay for a subscription right there on cable, or if you just got that Fox Sports subscription. With that being said, though, that's all really got on Husker Hoops. Until the game happens, there will be the post game. Imagine that one starts up around 5:00. It'll be Jake Bachman kind of carrying through that. And then, of course, our guy, Austin Orman, I'd imagine will be at the very least streaming in if he goes to that presser afterwards to go listen to the comments. But we will have post game again, probably around that 5:00 mark. Jake Bachman and then Austin Orman at some point will hop in via in person. If he couldn't get tickets, although he's got that media pass, then of course he will stream in if he's going down there to catch the presser. Great opportunity. Still got a lot of season left. Because after this, you get a little bit of a break for the men's team. They get Rutgers, but then it's right back to Purdue at home. And that's the last ranked opponent on Nebraska's schedule. Obviously, some of these teams could move up and down, but for the most part, if Nebraska gets to this gauntlet, and yeah, maybe they lose to Michigan, but if they can go pull a win out of Illinois and then another win out of Purdue, you start maybe looking at Nebraska as a favorite to win the Big Ten, which nobody had on their bingo card. You're kind of just looking at a few teams. I mean, in those Big Ten standings, you're looking at Michigan, who's 9-1. Purdue, luckily, has fallen off a little bit. Not that it truly matters yet in the regular season. Matters for the Big Ten tournament, of course, but Purdue's been struggling as of late. They are currently 7-3 in the Big Ten now as they've kind of racked up some sudden losses. And then, of course, Illinois, their only loss being to Nebraska. So if Nebraska gets this one, there is no tiebreaker whatsoever versus Illinois. And, of course, the only matchup we had versus Michigan was at their place. So we're not going to have any chance to get a tiebreaker. We're kind of rooting for Michigan to take a loss somewhere else in the Big Ten. And I thought maybe Michigan State the other night was going to do it. They did not necessarily come close. And the best chances for Michigan to take a tough loss is they do have in the Big Ten, a number 12 Purdue, a number 9 Illinois on the road still, and a number 7 Michigan State at home. They do got another rematch there. And that looks like all the ranked opponents in the Big Ten, at least. They do have a number 4 Duke as well, but obviously that is not going to affect that Big Ten conference win-loss total whatsoever. So a lot on the line for Nebraska to kind of put themselves in position. You stiff arm Illinois, make sure that they don't encroach on where you're at currently in the Big Ten standings. With a 9-1, you hand them their second loss. and then officially closed out that tiebreaker. And as I mentioned, Michigan, they still got a tough part of the schedule. Nebraska, this is kind of Illinois, Purdue, the toughest games left. With no disrespect to any of the other Big Ten teams, because we all know how hard it is to try to win games in the Big Ten. With other kind of winter sports news, since we got a little bit of time left, I will highlight Husker wrestling. They had a tough road match, but it was versus Penn State. And everyone that knows the legacy that is Penn State wrestling at this point can understand what I mean. That said, it was a tough one out there. But I thought the guys actually performed really well. There's a few matches in particular that I want to get into. I'm just trying to get what the total score was. A little bit closer than I think a lot of Penn State fans were even anticipating. And it started off pretty cold too. So it was impressive. The final was 12-26. But for a while there, it did feel like Nebraska could come up and sneak away with a potential road win. First two weights did not go great, starting at 125. Some extra points in it that put Nebraska in a hole pretty quickly. But then before you knew it, you had Brock Hardy coming up there. And when Brock Hardy went out there, he kind of switched everything on its head. And all of a sudden, Penn State was sitting there in a little bit of position I don't think they expected to be in. Brock Hardy goes out there, and he gets a really impressive win. Wins it in the tech fall. And all of a sudden, you look up, and it was what would have been a 9-0 Penn State. And if you get that one, it climbs up to, I think it would have been 12-0. Brock Hardy not only gets the win, Penn State a little upset after and gives a kick to Brock Hardy, which then takes a point away from Penn State. And then it was all of a sudden you're looking at, I think it was 8-6. And Nebraska men's wrestling was sitting there within striking distance of Penn State after a few matches. Now, there's some other ones that kind of got away. Chance Lamer had a big opportunity, I thought, to get a win. Had some opportunities to finish some moves, and unfortunately couldn't get it done. And then Antrell Taylor was clutch once again. He gets a huge win. Christopher Minto, tough match. I thought, honestly, the guy should have got DQ'd. There was a moment there where, very early in that first period, where nothing had really happened yet. Both guys were just still kind of hand fighting. And Minto, I didn't notice anything dirty, not like any animosity. But at one point, Minto kind of starts getting backed up. And just the Penn State wrestler just shoves him off the mat. And it's an elevated mat down there at Penn State. So Minto kind of came crashing down a little bit into, I think it was a media table. And it was just bizarre. They only take a point away, but I legitimately thought there that it looked intentional. Maybe they had better angles on it. It was on Big Ten Network. They didn't show a ton at the time as the match was still going on once it was decided. But, at the moment there, I thought the guy was going to get DQ'd and that one was going to go to Nebraska. But nonetheless, they just take a point away from Penn State. And then unfortunately, Minto ends up taking a loss there. And once we get to that point, it was really tough for Nebraska wrestling to kind of keep into it. AJ Farley wouldn't end up getting a win, a little bit closer than maybe people anticipated, but try not to get lost into the rankings so much. I mean, when you're talking about a Penn State program, they're, third, fourth best wrestler at a weight class could go start anywhere else. And a lot of times they're just not, I don't think, ranked because they don't have the matches yet. Or B, some of these guys at Penn State, they'll just sit. They could be really good somewhere else and they'll just sit and wait their turn. And sometimes the turn doesn't even come for the guy. We do got Joe B. Yeah, what about the guy that kicked Hardy after he got pinned? I'll tell you what, it was easy to root against Penn State because Brock Hardy, he got a kick over something minor too. I mean, people are saying, so after the pin, Brock Hardy, as he's getting up, it's like one belly tap, not even really looking at the guy. I didn't say anything, just as he's getting up, kind of pats the stomach. And apparently that was enough to set him off. So then the Penn State player just kind of kicks him in the back of the thigh, frustrated. They only take a point away, like I said. And then, of course, you get to the Minto match, and the guy almost gets shoved off the elevated mat into the media table. Should have been a DQ. It wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll be honest. It's not like I've been watching wrestling my entire life growing up, but I'm paying attention more and more. And I feel like in other situations, that guy definitely got DQ'd. Penn State was a little bit, I don't want to say Penn State as a team, but there were certainly some guys that were not happy. And then Antrell Taylor as well, shout out to him for just being as dominant. He took down Duke. Duke had not had a single loss on the season up until that point. And then Antrell Taylor came along and stole that one away from him. So Antrell Taylor, he stays on here. That makes it 10 straight for him. I know the Huskers lost 12-26, but I thought there were some good things to take out of it. Some people were upset by it. Listen, there's a reason that Penn State has been dominating everybody for a long time. It is not an excuse to go out there and lay down, but that's why I'm not sitting here all pissed off, because I didn't think the guys went out there and laid down. There's some matches that could have gone the other way. And of course, you had some really big ones. Antrell Taylor, Brock Hardy. I thought Minto was close. I thought Lamer had some really good opportunities, just couldn't finish. And some of the young guys, like that 125, they're still trying to figure it out for the most part. I'd imagine we might see a change there. Maybe they'll keep going with Kohler, but nonetheless, I'm not totally dejected from that, like as many people were. Let's see. We do got a text from Crowbait here about some Husker hoops. I will give you an update on that. Everything I've seen is they should be with some availability for Husker basketball. I'll do a quick little research. We'll get all that settled. Don't go anywhere. Take weekends. Harrison Arens going solo for another couple segments right here. 93.7 The Ticket.
Way up there where the sun comes up under the big red sky, I do life the way I love, with family by my side. I feel home with me, no matter where I go.
Proud of where we're from, excited for where we're going. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Diode Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Diode Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diode Tech online at diodetech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124. Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Tired of your furnace running overtime this winter? Let Heartland of Nebraska Windows save the day. Upgrade to stunning, energy-saving triple-pane vinyl windows installed by their team of experts. Every window comes with a lifetime warranty on everything, all for a price you can actually afford. Free estimates, flawless replacements, and peace of mind from a family-owned business you can trust. Don't wait. Call Heartland of Nebraska Windows at 402-430-3852 or visit heartlandofnebraskawindows.com today.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
Make your next event unforgettable with Grazing Gouda, your local artists and experts in charcuterie and grazed tables. From boardrooms to ballrooms, they turn gatherings into experiences with stunning spreads of artesian cheeses, cured meats, fresh fruits, and gourmet bites. Perfect for corporate luncheons, weddings, parties, or any celebration that deserves a wow moment. They handle the details. You take the compliments. Book your graze table today at GrazingGouda.com. Grazing Gouda, because every event deserves to be savored.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Change begins with you. Join a weight loss medication study at Solarion and earn cash in the process. If you are 19 to 65 years old with excess weight to lose, you may qualify. Participants could earn up to $22,750 for their time. Study includes 1 2-night stay, 1 3-night stay, and 38 returns. Learn more at helpresearch.com/flamingo or call 866-213-2965. Weight loss not guaranteed.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weekends, Harrison on the ones and twos. And as promised, want to double check so I don't sell you guys false goods. Availability report. So with Braden Frager, he is listed as a game time decision. Of course, Nebraska basketball, men's basketball, getting ready to take on number 9 ranked Illinois this evening. And that one, of course, starting at 3:00. And then you do have the woman leader at 5. But Braden Frager listed as a game time decision. So if you guys are going to the game, feel free. If you see him warming out, just put it on Twitter. And I'm sure we'll see some of the media heads out there when they're watching Huskers warm up. They'll figure out if he looks like he's fully going in the warm-ups, that he's probably going to go out there and play. And then for Rink Mass, should be good to go as well. I think that the biggest thing for him was just getting through the illness. I do want to say, if I go look at, so it was put out there that he actually had to go to the ER due to severe dehydration after the Michigan game. But then he felt better on Friday morning and went through non-contact practice. So he should be available for Illinois as well. But I don't think people really realize how sick Rinkmast was. So shout out to him for even thinking about playing through that. But he was apparently really sick, as having to go to the ER, hook up IVs just due to the dehydration of it. But they said that he felt fine Friday morning, which would have been a couple of days ago by now. And then he practiced. And then with Braden Frager listed as a game time decision. So should feel pretty good. I think we'll have both those guys back, which will be a big deal. Because versus Illinois, especially with Rink Mass, you're going to want somebody who's got that size, who can stand in there and at the very least just kind of deal and push out some of those bigger bodies. But that being said, I kind of talked about Husker Hoops a lot on that first segment, so won't spend any more time on it. But on the bright side, like I said, Braden Frager should be good to go. Game time decision, but I'm taking a swing. I think he'll be going. And then Rink Mass sounds healthy. He need practice Friday, so he should most likely be out there as well. With that being said, though, I do want to spend a little time talking about Husker football, because we're getting to that point where some people are starting to buy back into the Kool-Aid, which is fine. I'm not here to tell anybody what they can and can't be excited for. But Anthony Colandrea is starting to get some buzz around him, which is totally fine. I think he could very well be a phenomenal player. I don't know yet. I know he struggled at Virginia. Not like horrible or anything. You definitely didn't look at him and say this guy can't play. And then over at UNLV, had a really great year. Rebounded tremendously from his usual averages when it comes to that touchdown interception ratio. And then he shows a lot of great ability to scramble. And he definitely has wheels. You see that part of his game, and he's got some flashes where he's going to do some of the unexpected, where I think he'll take some runs that we haven't seen quarterbacks in the past be comfortable taking, or maybe they want to keep their eyes downfield a little bit. He's the type of guy that if you give him the green space, he's going to go ahead and take it and just go get that easy first down. The only part why I worry a little bit is, not to say that he's going to be this guy, but I don't want to get sold into the Jeff Sims again, where a lot of people like Jeff Sims. I shouldn't say everyone liked Jeff Sims, because some people did look at the numbers he had at Georgia Tech and were like, I'm not fully sure. But we thought we had a really lethal dual threat quarterback, and it obviously turned into be kind of a dumpster fire. And the season just tanked before it really felt like it started. Now, Anthony Colandrea, his touchdown and interception numbers are significantly better than what Jeff Sims had through pretty much his entire career out there in college football, outside of his nice little Arizona State run where he put some good numbers up. But all this to say is, I'm not just going to be sold on Anthony Colandrea yet. I think he could be very good. What my fear for guys that show a lot of really great dual threat ability is, are you running because you don't know what you're looking at, or are you running because that's the best option right there? Dylan Raiola never ran, and it felt like sometimes he just was holding on to the ball way too long, which piled up on the sack total. And then the offensive line, obviously somewhat responsible. The wide receivers for not getting open, somewhat responsible, but also for Dylan Raiola. Get rid of the ball or get the hell out of there. And he had a little bit too much of, I don't want to say it's wrong to trust your offensive line, but you can't be back there holding the ball for 8 seconds and then expect to have a clean jersey. With Anthony Colandrea, I don't know. Again, he could just be really good at reading the field and knowing when to take off. He's kind of different. Like, does he take off a lot because he can't read the field, like I said, or is he just really good at seeing those lanes when they're there and understanding, when the defense has their backs to him? And again, he can just take the easy 15 as opposed to having to take any risk. We'll have to see. I mean, obviously, when you go to this Big Ten, the defenses are going to be a lot better. They're going to be able to jump on balls. The speed's going to be a little bit better in some of these games. Not that UNLV was playing nobody, but some of these teams, like, for instance, anybody who's looked at next year's schedule, I mean, you got an Indiana, you got an Iowa. I think Michigan State's in there as well. And I say Michigan State because they got Fitzgerald now as well. Illinois, Ohio State. I mean, there's a lot of really tough games. I think Oregon's even on that list. So when you're playing those defenses, the teams that are going to have some 4 stars, when you get against Oregon, it's going to be some 5 stars out there on the field. Does that speed look the same? Are you able to still kind of close out on those same runs? And also, are you able to stay healthy? And that's the other part that scares me a little bit is we've had some really great dual threat quarterbacks, and say that Colandrea becomes that next really great dual threat quarterback. Are we going to be able to protect him? Because that's kind of been another one of the faults for Nebraska football is we just had a really struggled protecting our QBs. Whether it was Jeff Sims by his own fault at times, although actually he finished the season healthy because we ended up making a switch. When it came to Heinrich Harburg, he's just such a big body that I think he could take some of those hits. But even he mentioned playing through some injuries in his time at starting quarterback. We saw it with Casey Thompson. He was clearly hurt towards the end of his year at Nebraska. And then I think a lot of people in hindsight would have really wished he stayed, but he was getting banged up. And then, of course, with Dylan Raiola, we saw it, the injury versus USC with Adrian Martinez. We saw it where he was getting really banged up. Tommy Armstrong might have been like the healthiest quarterback we've had in a long time. I might be blanking on some guys in between there, but we have just struggled to have healthy QBs and keep them healthy. And like I said, it's some of it's on the quarterback, some of it's on the offensive line. But when you're going with a dual threat quarterback, this is where it gets interesting with Dana Holgorsen. What is this offense going to look like? Is this still going to look kind of like Satterfield's offense, where it's a lot of that pro style? We've talked about this before, but just to, kind of bring it up again because it does tie into it. You got Jeep Wade, new offensive line coach, which fine. What he did at Georgia Tech was, impressive. They had a more of a running quarterback attack. That was their bread and butter, was a lot of QB design runs. Now, I don't think he's going to be the guy setting up the entire offense here, but, another thing to keep in mind. And you have Dana Holgorsen still. You still got Satterfield. And when Satterfield moved off of the offensive coordinator spot and just moved to tight ends, and Holgorsen took over, the only real notices I saw were some minor tweaks to the play calling, but not too far different. Really just giving the ball to Emmett Johnson a hell of a lot more. And that worked. That great move right there. Don't get me wrong. That was a clear move. And it worked for Emmett Johnson to make it all first Big Ten team. But I guess I was just expecting a drastically different look, and not a lot looks different whatsoever with Holgorsen in charge. So maybe that does change this season. I mean, you got a lot of new pieces in place. Maybe with Dylan Raiola, like he was already kind of in that system. He didn't want to pull the rug out of him in the middle of the season. And maybe they thought they had some success at the end of 2 seasons ago, where they did go on to go win their first bowl game and beat Boston College. And why change it if it's not broken? We did have some success. And then they ran with it again. And obviously we know the result of this year, where it felt great. You were winning, and then you go get blown out. Well, actually, you get blown out by Minnesota. Then you go back to winning a little bit, but then you get blown out by Penn State, Iowa, then Utah. So now do you really see an overhaul of the offense, or do we just kind of reload? A lot of it's going to depend on what fits Anthony Colandrea. And you also have a guy behind him now in TJ Lateef, or, I shouldn't say that. It could be it should be a quarterback battle. In the era of NIL, it's a little bit tricky, because if you're committing, X amount of $1 million, we'll just say $5 million to Colandrea. I don't know if these numbers are even close, if I'm way over or under, and you're paying TJ Lateef $1 million, you want to go play the best guy. But the guy that you're investing $5 million in is going to get a little bit of an unfair bias, just because the coaches that's what they spent their money on. They're probably hoping for that one to work out more. Otherwise, they got some problems on their hands. If TJ Lateef ends up being a better quarterback, you start him, and you're looking at all the NIL boosters and 1890 being like, why is Colandrea sitting on the bench? We gave you guys that's what you spent your NIL money on, was a guy that's going to ride the bench for you this season. So that's where, again, it should be an open battle because of today's era. I don't know how those conversations fully work, but I do know probably the guy they're spending the most money on at quarterback, who's also the more veteran guy right now, is most likely the guy they want to start. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Quarterback competition battle, I think we expect Colandrea, and that's not surprising to anyone. But, you go put him out there. We'll see what this looks like. How much of this Dana Holgorsen offense is going to be changed? Is it going to be kind of similar to what Dylan Raiola was running, or is it going to have a drastic change? Because not only do you have Colandrea, you do have TJ Lateef. So either way, either one of those guys starts, even though I think it will be Colandrea. You have at least 2 quarterbacks that should have similar styles of play, where the playbook shouldn't have to look drastically different. And that's one issue with Dylan Raiola and TJ Lateef that always kind of felt a little bit weird. Like, is it great to have a playbook that has to change significantly if you have to get to your second string quarterback already? Because with Dylan Raiola, there was going to be no design quarterback runs unless it was a very set up one where you knew you'd get a freebie where Dylan Raiola was going to be untouched. But you didn't really like putting him out there because he didn't show the speed or the quick burst to get away from some of those tackles. And with TJ Lateef, you could. You saw that versus UCLA. You trust him a little bit more with his legs. Versus USC, when he got in there that first time, it was kind of tough. I think USC noticed he was in there. They sent some blitzes trying to get pressure on him right away, and it worked out pretty well. Because, again, tough moment for him to hop in there. But then after that, it's tough to judge TJ Lateef too much because you go up against Penn State, and I know they fired James Franklin, and the year they had wasn't as much as they wanted it to be. But it's not like that team still wasn't just loaded to the gills with 4 and 5 stars that didn't all have still that same talent. Pretty much a lot of that same talent that was in the college football playoffs a year prior and was demolishing some of those Big Ten opponents that year. A lot of those guys were still there. Drew Aller wasn't playing. James Franklin wasn't the coach, but a lot of that athleticism was there. Really tough game for TJ Lateef. Oh, here you go. Now you get the best version of Iowa that we haven't seen in years. Not to give them too much credit, but at least they had an offense. I mean, that offense was good. I know Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt, made fun of him a little bit for it. Didn't work out for Vanderbilt. They got not just beat, they got blown out pretty bad by the Iowa Hawkeyes. And that's just kind of where I land on a lot of this stuff is I don't know what this offense is necessarily going to look like. You got blown out 3 times the end of the year. The Utah one, I don't even really want to talk about. It looked good for like first two drives, and then someone have to explain to me how that happens. If that's schematics, if that's will, or how does our offensive line, who was actually shoving Utah around for the first couple of drives, just completely fall apart after and not be able to get anything going? Maybe it's just predictability. Maybe the Utah defensive coordinator was really catching on to Holgorsen and the way he wanted to call the offense and was just kind of one step ahead of him the whole time. But that game just flipped on a dime. After 2 drives, it was all Utah. So you got blown out 3 times. I'd imagine you do some pretty significant changes in the offense. And now you have 2 quarterbacks that at least have a very, very similar style of play on how they use their legs. Now, what throws they can all make is probably a little bit different, of course. But in terms of their athleticism and how they like to manipulate defenses with their legs, that part stays similar with both of them. So a lot of questions still heading into Husker football, and we got a lot of time to think about it. But I did see, with the schedule coming out, more recruiting news, people are sipping a little bit of the Kool-Aid, and I think everyone will kind of get there again. Maybe not sipping the Kool-Aid to say we're going to go win 9 games, but sipping the Kool-Aid to at least say, I'm excited. I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but at least Husker football's back. With that being said, we'll go ahead, throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll have one more segment on the other side. We'll talk a little bit of NFL since we got no NFL football this weekend. We'll preview it. It's going to be a heavy Super Bowl week, I'd imagine, at 93.7 Ticket starting Monday. Don't go anywhere. 93.7 Ticket, Harrison Arns on the 1s and 2s. Talk to you guys in a little bit.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320. Tired of your furnace running overtime this winter? Let Heartland of Nebraska Windows save the day. Upgrade to stunning, energy-saving triple-pane vinyl windows installed by their team of experts. Every window comes with a lifetime warranty on everything, all for a price you can actually afford. Free estimates, flawless replacements, and peace of mind from a family-owned business you can trust. Don't wait. Call Heartland of Nebraska Windows at 402-430-3852 or visit heartlandofnebraskawindows.com today.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Dinner and a movie? You've done that. Arbor Axe House has a date night deal that really hits.
This Valentine's Day, enjoy a special rate that includes an hour of axe throwing for 2 plus drinks and koozies. Reserve your lane today at arbораxe.com. Arbor Axe House on the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. And got a little bit more college basketball, actually. Forgot this one on my notes. We will talk NFL, Super Bowl. Pretty much, like I said, starting Monday, it's going to be a lot of conversations. And we are on air 18 hours a day. So you'll get the Super Bowl talk, probably with some Super Bowl history. It'll be a lot of probably going back in. I know on Chris Raff's show at night in particular, he wants to do just reviewing some of the best Super Bowls. So we'll kind of save that because I think you guys might get tired of it if we start with that right now. But the one thing I did want to talk about that I missed before is the absurdity that is becoming college hoops. If you guys listen to the Corner 3, shout out Austin Norman. He brought me on there and we talked about this story for a little bit. So, we got a former G League player who was literally playing in the G League this year, going to the University of Alabama and actually playing. It went through. And now we have former UCLA guard Amari Bailey is looking to become the first basketball player to return to the NCAA after suiting up in the NBA. So this guy not only declared for the NBA draft, got drafted into the NBA, and then actually did go out on the court and play games in the league. Now his career kind of fizzled out. Like, it's not like he was still on rosters, but he wasn't necessarily getting a ton of minutes anywhere. And I don't know what the upside, how much upside there was, but trying to get back into college basketball is insane. Now he does have some quotes. He did tell this. So Bailey told ESPN's Dan Murphy, quote, "I'm not trying to be a 27-year-old playing college athletics. No shade to the guys that do that. That's their journey, but I want to go play professionally and learned a lot, went through a lot. So, like, why not me?" Probably the line where you say, but I went to go play professionally and learned a lot and went through a lot. It's easy. We got to make some of these guidelines easy. It's once you shut the door on your college athletics, I think that's it. You shut the door. You have the decision to go pro or not. And for Bailey, he was a one and done guy. And even his college numbers, they showed he could be a good player, but they didn't show he was a guaranteed great player, or he was going to be a guaranteed player who's going to have multiple years in the NBA as a role player or even as a starter. But you made the decision ultimately to go play in the league and take your chances. And that's the part where, if you're going to be a one and done, you're betting on yourself to be a good NBA player, that you're ready for the pro level. I don't think you just get to start reversing all these decisions. I don't think they were going to reverse the decision with the Alabama player, but they did. So who knows? I mean, if this is what's happening, if Fred Hoiberg, seriously, if this does go through, Fred Hoiberg might as well call, Bryce McGowan's, Delano Banton, get Roby back, because nothing would be stopping it anymore. And I think the NCAA is just getting kicked in every single court case that they've really been entering with these conferences and with these universities and with these players and their agents, that I don't know how much will they have to keep fighting this stuff. So it is a little bit worrisome. No disrespect to Amari Bailey, because again, I think Foreman says this, and I think it's true. If they're dumb enough to give you the money, take it. Like, if you're Amari Bailey, your NBA career isn't going the way you thought it would. Well, here's an opportunity to maybe go back to college basketball. You have more experience. You would get a significant amount of NIL money. I'm sure a school would give you an offer. And then you can always try the pros again later. And if this one comes through, then that's just going to be an open door for every guy who went to the NBA who didn't quite have the start that they wanted. Well, let me just go back to college and make money there on a shorter guarantee. But at least if I do it this way, I'll have much better chances of being a standout player. And maybe I can build back up my draft stock. Like, these are just very obvious problems into it. But, I do think it probably has to go to the federal courts at this point. I don't know, these state courts, again, like, that's going to the Alabama player. The court judge who decided that was a Alabama alumni who was also a heavy donator to their boosters. So, tell me where the problems are there. I don't think that makes any sense how he was even able to be the judge for that case, but he was. So these state courts seem to have some bias. The federal courts shouldn't have any. So it might really have to be the thing where it has to go to the federal courts. It's kind of a shame that we're at this point with college sports. Again, like, the insanity of it is nobody has a problem with the money. People have a problem with the way the operation of NIL is going. Yeah, I'll say it one more time. It's not necessarily NIL. It's NIL based on potential. Or a guy who maybe he can be this much money for the university will get the money up front based on the potential. And then if there's no real payout, well, whatever. That's just kind of how it works. I mean, these universities have a lot of money. They're willing to kind of gamble some of it on these players that they think are going to be hits, and then it doesn't always work out. Yeah, that's kind of based on potential, not the reality of their name, image, and likeness. Yeah, it could be. That's just the way I see it, though. It'll be quite a few years, in my guess, before any of this gets fully ironed out. But until then, I will go ahead and sign off. We got some great Husker hoops today. But until then, we got some more Ticket Sunday shows for you. Fitness Fanatics up next. Jeff and Nicole Essink. They'll keep you guys company for the next 2 hours. 93.7 The Ticket.